Hey guys, ready for the next session? It's chapter 13. It's a little bit more difficult than chapter 12. In this session, we're going to talk about the testing of differences between groups. So one common test that you will come across is called the t-test. Yep, the t test. This is looking at the groups and looking at the differences between the percentages and then the means. So in this chapter, we will look at first the percentage differences and then the means differences and then to the SPSS independent samples t-test procedure. And because the intent for you guys is to understand how to interpret the data, the output produced in SPSS based on the test that you guys run instead of boggling you down with all the formulas. I'm back. So did you figure out which test to use? I'm pretty sure you did. So it's the independent samples t-test. Now, why do we think we need the independent sample t-test and no other test? Because you have two groups, the male and the female. Now, because we have two groups, we will use that. But what if we have more than two groups? We would use the one-way ANOVA. Now for this exercise, or rather this question, we want to see how appealing it is for the man or for the female, or rather which vice versa. So the variable that we want to use is the question that asks how likely are you to patronize this restaurant. So follow me in the next slide. In order to do that, we need to use a independent sample t-test. So what we do is go to Analyze, and then we do Compare Means, Independent Samples t-test. So this is what I clicked over. We would want to click on the variable that asks how likely would it be for you to patronize this restaurant, which is represented by the variable name of likely. For gender, I clicked it over, and then so we would define the group as 1 and 2. Click Continue. Options, you can or you don't have to click it, but I would make sure that it's at 95% confidence interval. And then click Continue. Click OK. Now this is the table you would see after you run the test. If you could determine the difference, you would look at first the mean. Male is represented by 3.02, female 2.98. Pretty similar, it's just a little bit off, but it's very close to each other. The next thing you want to look at is this Levene's test for equality of variances. This test, it indicates the equal variances assumed. Okay? Now you would see whether that's significant on the value on the two-tail. It's way more than the significance value of 0.01 or 0.05. So what does this tell you? Referring back to page 330, on the bottom half of the page after the formula, it says if the z-value of 1.96 amounts to no support is larger than 1.96, then it says that it's no support for the null hypothesis, which also means that there's statistically significant difference between the two groups. So for in this case, this significance value is way more than the significance value of 0.01, which is what is determined as significant as 0.05, which is 95%. So how you gonna interpret this is by saying that it's in support of the null hypothesis, and men and women do not differ in respects to their likelihood to use the upscale restaurant described in the questionnaire. Okay, so this is question 1. Now let's go ahead and do question 2. Question 2 asks, with respects to the location of the Hobbit's Choice restaurant, is a whether it's a waterfront viewer preferred more than a drive less than 30 minutes. Now, for this, we would do a paired samples statistics because we look at two different groups. Okay, for this sample t-test, we're looking at within that same group, so it's the group statistics. So what we're going to do next for question 2 is go to Analyze, Compare Means, and click on Paired Samples t-test. Okay, so let's reset this. Now we want to look at the two different groups. So two different groups, which is waterfront viewer and the drive less than 30 minutes. So we go find that waterfront view. Here, waterfront and the drive. Let's look at the drive. It's here. And you click over. Options similar is 95%. So click continue and just click OK. This is what you would see for our paired sample t-test. Now again, look at the mean value, 3.42 and 2.73. And then we will look at the significance value at the two-tail. This is significant. So what does this tell you? I'll leave it up to you to interpret. Don't forget to answer the question, just like what we did for question 1. Okay?